How's it going? I'm Jim Halterman. I'm the West Coast Bureau Chief for TV Guide Magazine. Thanks so much for being here. Obviously, we're all fans of The Last Ship, right? Well, we're going to dig deep into the fourth season that's coming up next month on August 20th on TNT. But before we get started with our panelists, we're going to give you an extended sneak peek of the documentary, Adam Baldwin. Sasha Cooper, played by Bridget Regan. And I would not want to act that scene with Eric Dane. Eric Dane. It's good stuff. Steve, let's just talk first of all, just so you know, season 4 is coming up August 20th. We're all very excited.
That's a week.
How did you shape the season? You got 3 seasons behind you.
Yeah.
Time has passed. Tell me where you dove into it.
Well, first of all, thanks for coming, everybody. We were blessed because TNT gave us a 2-season pickup right away. So we had the chance to sort of make longer-term plans. But a couple things were going on. For me, it was, where do we want to go in the world? I always wanted to go to the Mediterranean. I thought that'd be a great place for the ship to go. I wanted to sort of do our telling of the Odyssey, which is the greatest sea story, with our guys on the ship. And I wanted to explore different themes, especially because it's been a few years since the show started, and we really haven't focused a lot on the average person and how the plague has affected them. The plague, and now in this season, the famine. Picture in this room, if 90% of the people in this room left the planet, and you're left behind and you're in a world of chaos and civil wars and all kinds of terrible things happening, and you have all this post-traumatic stress. These guys on the ship, they are always focused on the mission. They don't have to think about that as much, but the rest of the planet is suffering. So we kind of deal with those issues. We deal with big issues of homecoming, what that means, and then we're sort of doing a little bit of our own version of the Odyssey in the Mediterranean. So we go to Greece, Italy, Algeria, Morocco, Spain. It's fun.
And how has the plague actually changed over time? Because we've seen it at different stages, but where do we find it in season 4?
Well, as another big science fiction film likes to say, life finds a way. And the virus is no longer affecting human beings. And so it jumps kingdoms back to where it started, in the plant world. And it's affecting a class of plants called camelinids, which are grasses, wheats, corn, soybean, rice, basically all the food crops and everything that's needed to sustain the biosphere. So there's a massive worldwide famine spreading, and these guys on the ship are looking for a primordial seed that has inside it DNA that makes it naturally immune to this disease, so they can hopefully tap into that and find a cure.
You regularly kind of touch on a lot of different themes throughout the series, just in the different storylines we see. What are some of the themes you wanted to touch on in season 4?
Well, on a bigger scale, it's the idea of homecoming and how do you remake the planet that you've lost and try to find a way to be a human being inside of it. On a personal level, it's for our characters. Chandler left the ship at the end of season 3. He exiled himself from the ship because he felt he couldn't be the leader he needed to be because of the crimes he committed. He'd seen parts of his personality he didn't like anymore, angry, vindictive, and he put himself into exile. And really what he's struggling with is what humans all struggle with, which is how do you deal with all of those parts of your personality. And so we deal with that issue too, about what makes you a human being, and how do you keep the angry, ugly, dark sides in check while allowing them to serve the purpose they need to keep you alive.
And Eric, Chandler did leave at the end of last season, so some time has passed. How's he doing when we meet him up in season 4?
Happy, healthy, a little angry. I think it's been a very long hiatus for him, we find him in the Mediterranean, which, that's probably where I would have gone.
You see him smile a little bit in the first episode, which we're not used to seeing him smile a lot.
Yeah, it's pretty rare. Well,
he seems happy though, for a few minutes.
For a few minutes, a few episodes actually. No, I think Chandler's in probably a better place now. I really think that Greece was good for him, and I wish he would have spent more of the season there. But duty calls, and eventually, I mean, you have to know Chandler's going to in some way, shape, or form find himself in the mix again.
Well, as we saw in that clip, trouble eventually finds him, as it tends to do.
That is one of the themes, as well as, to borrow from the Greeks again, the idea of destiny. You can't run for your destiny, and Chandler's destiny is to be the hero. Even if he's the reluctant hero, he has to eventually answer the call.
Talk about the choreography and just the work that goes into shooting a fight scene like we just saw.
You know, it was interesting because we prepared for that fight scene for like a month. And we had all these moves that we were going to do. And when we got there on the day, I don't know if it was the time constraints or what, but we basically threw it all out and just kind of riffed as we made it up as we went along. And it worked out because, you know, some of the moves are just variants of the same move. But the guy I was fighting with is actually a professional wrestler. So he adapted pretty quickly, and he kind of led the dance, and I did what I was told.
Yeah, speaking of what Steve said about, you know, Chandler being a hero, is he going to kind of maybe embrace that more in season 4, or is it something he's still going to be kind of running from or just ignoring?
I don't think he ever embraced it. I think everything for him was always a we and never an I, and you know, as reluctant as he may have been to take over the reins, it's always been a group effort for him. And you know, the hero thing is not something I think he was very comfortable with. So, you know, and those are the best heroes anyway, the guys who don't want to be heroes. But Chandler, like you said, just trouble kind of finds him, and he finds himself in precarious situations, and one way or another figures a way out of it.
Also in that clip, Steve, we saw some nefarious-looking characters there. Do we have like a single big bad this season, or is somebody at least at the start of the season?
Well, we have a host of big bads. A lot of stories will collide, but we have, because the seed is so important to sustaining life, there are a lot of people out there who want it. So our guys come across various bad guys. What we saw there is Jackson Rathbone came this year to play a really delicious villain for us. He's a sort of a Greek mafia guy who shakes down fishermen for their take and runs these fight clubs for his enjoyment. But there are others that they come across in Morocco and in southern Spain and in Algeria, and then we have a few surprises down the road too.
Adam, how's Slattery doing? I mean, he's the captain now. He's in charge of the Nathan James, but how's he doing without his best friend and just with these responsibilities? How have we seen him at the start of the season?
He misses Chandler. Obviously, the mission must continue, and as we came to know the characters, they were equal rank. Chandler had more years in and a little bit more seniority, so he has the ability to take over, and he's able to run the Nathan James as need be and continue the mission. But he does hope to one day reacquaint himself with Tom Chandler. And there's some interesting things that happen in his history. We all suffered the losses of our families and our friends by the millions, and so he and the crew are struggling with those tragedies and with survival. And Slattery's family, there's a way that we explain some things about his lost family that I think are really cool and really interesting, and he won't let me tell you how. So,
It's really cool though.
Okay, good. So, because I was going to ask if we get an update on that, because I know that's been a thread through since the show began.
yes.
All right, we'll leave it at that. If without Chandler there, who is he leaning on? Who's kind of his go-to?
Well, again, what we've learned through our filming with The Last Ship is that we've had the honor of spending time with the real Navy and aboard real Navy ships with, And I think we're all, to a man and woman on our show, impressed by the strength and the courage and just the ability of young people to run these platforms of battle. And so Slattery's no different. He relies on his crew. He leans on his crew. They work as a unit. There are some main characters, Sasha being one of them. She's still around. Thank you for staying. Appreciate it. Malin and Burke and slew of other young, strong people. So he has a good crew. But there's a bit of a hole in his heart. You know? So.
Well, with food being scarce kind of in the whole world, does that also affect the ship? Do you see that affect that?
Yeah, it affects the mission. One of the reasons why they're once again the last ship is that the Navy can't sustain a fleet without the ability to replenish them. So they go onto this mission and they find out that pretty much their home base in Spain, Rota, Spain, where they've been working from, is closing down because they can't support it. So they're on the ship with a supply of food. You'll see signs around the ship saying, please just take one, and ration your food and all that stuff. So hunger affects them and everyone else. And yeah, they're much more in it. In previous seasons, they've been in hazmat suits or hiding on the ship. Here, they're among the people, and they're really sharing their pain, and they're kind of doing what the Navy actually does, which is, share and shoulder the burden. So that it definitely hits home for the crew as well.
It's very lonely down here. When you guys talk to me, I feel like half our cast got left in.
That's the virus.
They'll be sitting there.
We voted them off.
They'll be voting nobody else off. Also in the clip, we saw some kicking ass courtesy of Bridget Regan as Sasha. Awesome. What are some of Cooper's challenges in this season?
Well, when Chandler walked off the ship at the end of season 3, it was, shock, heartbreaking, and devastating. It really shook her up. When we meet up with the crew of the Nathan James, we fast forwarded like a year and a half or so, and Sasha isn't a character who sits and thinks about how she feels. Not many characters on this show are. I think they all find it easier to focus on the task at hand, be fed by the adrenaline of the fight, and keep working. That being said, he's not an easy guy to get over, but she's trying. She's trying.
Because they did have that nice smooch at the end of season 3.
Nice smooch.
Nice.
What more do you want?
Eric,
Walked away.
Eric, is Cooper in Chandler's thoughts with where he's at now? Just gonna put you on the spot for a second.
Greece on the beach in the Mediterranean. Yeah, I think everybody's in Chandler's thoughts. I think it weighs heavy on him.
I will say that Sasha and Bridget, in season 3, she spoke about 6 or 7 different languages, and she'll speak a few more this season too. It's kind of fun to watch her do it. She sounds good.
It's a lot of homework.
It's very intimidating and impressive how you do that.
I'm not alone. We have a new cast member, Jodie Turner-Smith, and she also joins me, and she nails it. Yeah.
And talk about some of the other guest stars we are seeing. You already mentioned.
Yeah, so Jodie Smith is one of our regulars this season. Of course, Emerson Brooks comes back as mail-in, and we have a little bit of a surprise you saw there in the clip, so it's not a surprise anymore, that Tex's daughter, Kathleen, actually joins the crew as a young airman, and Jackson Rathbone plays a part, and as you'll see in the clip coming up, we have a special guest and director, also actor of this season, Peter Weller.
And Peter Weller, who's RoboCop?
Peter Weller, who is RoboCop.
That's it.
Peter and I talked last year at dinner about the Mediterranean Sea. He's got a house out there. I just visited his house out there. It's very nice. And Peter's a very Renaissance man about the history of the region, and art and religion and mythology. And we were talking about this kind of stuff. And as I started talking to him, I said, I need you to do me a favor. I know you're going to come back and direct, and that's going to be great, but I need you to be in the show because I'm writing a part for you. So we tailor-made a part for Peter, and I think he really brings a lot to the show this year. He becomes a great foil for these guys.
I want to hear from the actors. I know you guys all have dialogue with real-life service people out there via Twitter and other social media. How has that influenced your role and how you approach it? And because you hear from people that are out there really doing it. Can you talk about maybe an instance where you did kind of converse or communicate with somebody about that?
I worked with a female naval intelligence officer, and she took me on board her ship, the USS Macon Island, and took me into her quarters and where her team was. I got to meet all of them, and it was awesome. It was totally a game changer for me. I also have a friend who's a helicopter pilot for the Navy, and she took me there. And it just makes it feel really real, you know. And the fact that any veteran would dig our show just means the world to me. It's like, you know, we're doing something right if you guys are enjoying it. So.
Adam and Aaron, can you talk to people?
I still talk to the original captain, the Halsey, the USS Halsey, the ship we shot the pilot on. And he's since moved on. He's at the Pentagon now. He's actually in charge of buying all the weaponry for the military. Can't really say anything else about it. But every time I go to Washington, D.C., I make time for them. And they're just great people. The Navy culture has been something that we've been, you know, living with for the last 5 years, and it's been educational and inspiring, and it's changed a lot of people's attitudes toward the military. I think that's a good thing.
I have a list here, actually, if you can indulge me. Because we're in San Diego, this is the home of the show, and the base is down the street, and it's our second home, and we're going to be going from here to the base to screen the premiere for the Navy at the pier where we filmed. So I just want to give you a quick list. Everything I say, every ship I say here, just picture this plus 300 to 500 sailors on those ships who helped us make this show. USS Halsey, USS Russell, USS Dewey, USS Wayne Meyer, USS Kidd, USS Sterett, USS Pinckney, USS William P. Lawrence, USNS Mercy, USS San Diego, USS Rafael Peralta, USS Macon Island. Also, North Island, ACU-5, Red Beach, the Marines have been helping us this year as well. All those people, all those COs, XOs, all those enlisted people, they stepped forward for us to the show because they believed the mission we were telling, and we couldn't have done the show without them, and we wouldn't want to, and honestly, it's changed our lives immensely.
What would you guys say surprises you the most? Is it some of the situations these people put themselves in, or is it the emotional journeys they go on, or what kind of has surprised you the most when you hear these stories?
I just love, again, the youth and the strength and the dedication that we meet in and amongst the service members, especially the Navy and the Marines these days. They spend time sacrificing away from home, loved ones, but they do it with honor, courage, and commitment. They stand strong, and they're happy to do it. And if they can look at us when we come aboard and occasionally they throw a salute our way, and we think, hey, no, it's just a costume. Okay. See, the command pin's on the wrong side. The nitpickers out there online, they find this little, command pin's on the wrong side, so yeah, no, we got.
Are they on the wrong? I didn't know that. The command, is that why we're not? I'm not getting saluted as often as I should be?
Maybe it's the donuts in your hand and the umbrella behind you.
Yeah, I think the Sulaco gives it away.
Yeah, it's the culture. It's we come up also due respect to our people and our crew who work really, really hard and treat our job like a military operation. The Navy was kind of blown away by the people who worked with us at how well we do our job. But it was this great mutual love affair, and everyone's working together, everyone's doing their job, and suddenly the whistle blows and it's time for colors. The flag's going up or the flag's going down, and it doesn't matter if you're a Teamster or you're a fire control officer or you're an XO or you're a catering guy. Everyone stopped, turned towards the flag, and we all felt like, you know, patriotic Americans in that moment. And I think it really helped the actors feel like sailors, you know.
That's a really important point. Our crew, again, we're not military. We're sort of like there's a military ethos of work that our crew puts in. There's no violence involved, but the hours that they put in, well, those are just the cranky ones. But the hours that they put in, the dedication they put in, and they love it. They love being a part of it and getting our show up and running. And the logistics, when you see the amount of gear that has to be transported to the pier and back and on board and back and forth, it's amazingly impressive. And I understand why all cast members who work with crews that are so dedicated thank them, because without them, we couldn't do it. We're standing on their shoulders. We couldn't do it without the words. And we just try to be kind and show up on time and be good.
Yeah, our crew are the real badasses of the show. They really are. They're incredible.
We just hope that we take you around the world, every year and give you a great story and hopefully dig deep into sort of what makes these people who they are as sailors, as characters, and this season is no different.
Go Navy!
For the actors also, in the clips that we saw, there was a lot of it was very action-packed, but the show also has quieter moments and intimate moments. I don't want to say challenging, what's a more challenging day? When you have a day when you have some really personal, emotional stuff to give, or when it's more action-centric and a lot of choreography with and weapons and things like that?
It's different. I mean, the emotional stuff is a different muscle you're working out. The action stuff is physically demanding, very demanding. And the emotional stuff can be mentally exhausting. But at the end of the day, I think there's a nice balance between the two. So everybody goes home happy.
Bridget, how do you approach both?
Well, actually, this season, Sasha's armor, so to speak, we begin to see some cracks in it. And I was excited that I was given that opportunity and the challenge of, what happens when Sasha's emotions are too big to hold in. Which was interesting to explore, because she's not a character that shows how she feels. So it was a challenge, but I'm still playing catch up. I'm still kind of the new guy on the show in terms of the violence and stunts and everything. So those days are great, but they're so fun. I mean, we've got real Navy SEALs on set with us telling us what to do and to help us not look like idiots. So I'm always just looking to them, how do I look? Am I doing it right? Trying my best, Yeah.
Adam, how about you?
I love the action stuff. It's kind of what I've been doing for the last few years. Comfortable with weapons. My daughter got married a couple months ago, and in that ceremony, she insisted that the minister put in a line from Baz Luhrmann. Be kind to your knees; you will miss them when they're gone. It's true. You gotta keep stretching. But I really love the softer, quieter stuff because it allows you to get in touch with your family emotions and the stoicism and tough guy act that even the toughest of tough guys put on, as we know. It's all about protecting the home front, protecting the home and keeping that safe. And that's why the military puts their butts on the line for us. And so we couldn't do what we do without them, and I love playing those quieter things because I'm really just a teddy bear inside. It's just acting. I'm just tricking you. Not that tough.
We do find a nice balance, though. I think we start with a bang, and then we kind of get the situation going, and then we try to find those quiet moments. It's really hard when the missiles are coming in to sort of stop and ask how you're feeling. Yeah. So we try to find a good balance in the stories, and I think he's being very humble because he has some big scenes this season where he not only kicks some ass, but he gets very emotional. And
do I cry? I don't think I cry though, do I?
I think you put it in digitally. but and for Eric as the sort of reluctant hero, he tries not to let his emotions get the better of him. It's fascinating to watch from behind the camera the subtleties he brings to it because you see the torment and the torture that he just doesn't share with the people beneath him because that's not his responsibility to it. He has to stay strong for them. And as you say to Chandler at the beginning of season 3, when you're sitting in the captain's chair and you look to your right and all there is a window, you know that it's on you. And so the mask of command, the burden of command falls on each of you in different ways. And how you keep your act together under the worst circumstances, I think, is what makes your characters so heroic, and you guys bring such subtlety to it. So we're lucky to have these guys.
Steve, you touched on this a little bit, but knowing that you were going to have 2 seasons to work with, did it change how you approach the story? Or, do you still see this kind of 2 separate chapters, or is it one?
Well, we spent all the money in the 4th season by accident. No, we actually, the mandate from the network and for ourselves was every season is its own season. We always change our main titles, we always have different missions. It's the same people, it's the same general show, but we stopped looking for the cure to the red flu in season 1. So season 5, which we're shooting now, we're in the middle of it, is a whole different beast. It takes place in a whole different part of the world, with some new characters, obviously new villains. So it's a separate story altogether.
For the cast, it's such a big cast. Is there anybody you'd like to work with more? I mean, they do kind of mix you guys up a little bit, but there's also times that you're just in a different story than other people. Are there other cast members that you'd like to have a little more time with?
I want to work with the guy in this chair.
Anyone?
I get to work with everybody, so I'm not answering this question.
I think there's been a great balance over the course of the seasons. We've had clusters where we're working with a certain group, and then we splinter off and then circle back. So I think it's a good balance.
I think you need more time with Halsey, the dog.
Oh, yeah.
Is Halsey still alive?
He's alive and well. Yeah.
Oh, good.
He's teaching at the War College.
I don't get to work with Halsey.
Just don't put me in a fight scene against Brent, okay?
Well, I think we're going to see the full trailer for season 4 now, so we can see a little bit more what we're going to see. So let's take a